Monday, 23rd of September 2004. Oof. So started off early this morning. Had Eric was in San Diego talking about the importance of aligning technology with personal relationships in the nonprofit and education sectors to create meaningful impact. Super fun. It was early though, like Eric started you know, it was 4:45 my time, so in San Diego it probably was around 1:45. But I had a really cool conversation, met Eric in San Diego in 2018 and had the opportunity to see a kind heart. He carried us right across to meet people we visited a WeWork, and they were just great people that he connected us with. John is also someone he connected us with. Just a ton of fun. Then I had Naran Tillman, pastor who does yoga. And that was the first time I heard that, like a pastor who teaches yoga. Upstate New York, right after. Really cool conversation, integrating spirituality, mindfulness, and entrepreneurship. And yeah, from the time I got in there, he said, he said, "Is are you from Trinidad?" So happens his wife is a Trinidadian, and I said, "Well, if your wife's a Trinidadian, it means." You must eat amazing food. And he's like, yeah, last night I had stewed chicken, man. That was a ton of fun. Then in my morning segment, Petra followed a very cool conversation. Petra expressed the personal growth through adversity. She was part of a cult and left that, and she talked about the self awareness, yeah, that comes about better mental health, leadership. Fun conversation again. Hira Ali was up next. Uh, and for the entire day, there's this theme of resilience, the power of resilience. Um, but yeah, Hira's, Hira's inspirational. She said, my podcast inspired her, and that she's been doing a lot in the space for men, and it's worked. But she really dished out the motivation to keep doing what I'm doing. But yeah, she's resilience and advocacy for gender equality and strengthened by personal growth and the support of mentors. Yeah, like she really honed into that. It was fun as well with her affirming the value of my podcast because she's officially going to be episode 3000. That was a ton of fun when I numbered the podcast after, and yeah, so she's going to be episode 3000. So that was cool. Tabitha Jane came on. Uh, Scotland in the house. I love the Scottish accent. It's one of my favorite accents. But she spoke about returning home and the work she's doing there. Amazing stuff. Like her stuff is earthself.org. You could always check that out, but just doing a ton. And there's the concept of earth self, right? So again, it's the log, right? Like you'll hear, it's just to touch on the basics, right? JC Preston, JC Preston, I met in Indianapolis, and when I visited Indianapolis, the driven young version of myself, that young man, who wanted to have so many conversations. I think my goal back then was to have 1,200 conversations while driving across the US and Canada. Crazy guy. It was either 1,000 or 1,200, but nevertheless, JC Preston and his team and his crew, his people, they put together 33 conversations. I had 33 live recordings back to back. They just had people like they had the whiteboard, the names on there. Him, Harrison Painter was a part of that as well. Oh, Beard, like I can't remember the other guy's name. Just fun, amazing people. They got food for me. Like I was eating in 5 minutes and then back on. It was a ton of fun. The most conversations I've had to date in a live setting, 33 conversations. And then, so thanks, JC. Thanks for coming back on. But JC talked about, what happened with the pandemic and the regrounding that occurred, the reassessment of life priorities. Then I had Joanna Turner right after. That was a ton of fun, which was Scotland again. And she talked about embracing authenticity and vulnerability. Um, and yeah, that was a ton of fun. Nevertheless, Michael Levitt, it was the first time he was on the podcast, and that was cool too. Michael lives in the human resource space and has spoken in hundreds of conferences and talks about the technology, he and what's going on there. But his main thing is burnt out, yeah, like overcoming burnt out and focusing on leadership insights. So that was a ton of fun. Renee Brent, that was good. Like Renee is one of the people who are on the podcast that was like an early episode, right? Like Renee was episode 157, if I'm not mistaken, which is early. That's like the early version of oh, it's painful to listen to myself way back then. But Rennie was there, which is 2016, and she really dove into some conversations. I've talked about people who've been married for quite a bit, but she was divorced after 20 years, and she shares the other side of that, yeah, the healing from personal pain, that can lead to stronger relationships and yeah, and professional fulfillment. So it's cool. She talked about the better types of relationships she has with her children. And then Terry Bean, my rush here is to complete in 12 minutes, right? So my goal is to do these things for 12 minutes. But as I'm interviewing even more people, I'm wondering, will I be able to do this in 12 minutes? I'm already at 7 minutes and 55 seconds. It's a log though, right? So uh, anyway, so Terry Bean, amazing guy. Met him as well in Detroit. Just just cool, chill, talked about doing a 360, after COVID. Michelle Butt. It was cool that I had Michelle Butt, Butt, after. My little small pattern that I saw is that Renee Brent wrote a book, How Big Is Your Butt? Right? Like, how many times are you using butt? And Michelle Butt was that person that I had right after. So it was just, just laughing at that in my mind. But Michelle, who is born in Guyana and moved to North America, Michelle does something that I'm fascinated by: facial intelligence. Wow. So I asked her, well, what do you see when you see my face? Like, what's the thing you see? And that was just fun to hear her share that. Denicia Hilton. Denicia has both in Amanda and my mind, like she's niched down into speaking about females and their period. That was our initial conversation with her in 2017 when we met her at Podfest. And it's interesting, she's stayed consistent with that, but it's evolved. And she's creating some amazing tools, journals, as she expressed. But yeah, it's alignment through self-love and holistic living can bring about personal and professional growth. It's intriguing, right? Like she's helping women understand themselves and love themselves, and she's working tirelessly on some projects It'll be fun to see what that looks like. Jim Maziotti. Jim came on. Jim told me he's 70 years old now. And he said, you probably may have just hit the oldest person on your podcast. But, later on today, well, at that time, Deborah Levine, yeah, she came on. Deborah Levine, she came on and yeah, she was the 76-year-old, which was a ton of fun. But nevertheless, Jim was great. Met Jim in Oregon. And again, meeting people who I've had conversations with virtually, it really carries like the relationship to a next level. Randall as well. Randall and his wife, they did that. They gave us a room in their homes to stay in Montreal, and that was just a ton of fun. But it was good to see him. I think he's moved back from the way he's looking. Like he's been able to turn back the hands of time because he's looking younger. He looks great. But it was just amazing. He's back into the business of what he believes is what he was meant to do, technology, and it's great. Yeah, he said that when he began helping people and showing up without expecting in return, without going to conferences and expressing in his mind, hey, like, how can I get? And instead of choosing to give, how can I give? How can I give? He said it was tremendous and it was just exponential what happened, the growth that happened for his business and for himself. Deborah, as I said, diversity and inclusion, like she's been working a lot. For a 76-year-old, she's not stopping. So there's a documentary that they created. There's just a ton of things, yeah. Then I had Michelle. I'm rounding up here. Ooh, so this is the 16 conversation. And, Michelle really dove in about authenticity and staying true to personal values. Again, great. So I rested and then this was the evening segment and Jonathan Gross started off and it was cool because Jonathan was a young man when I first interviewed him. He was at college. I didn't have many college students, but he was in college and he's going after broadcasting and he's it's his path and he's still in the space. In fact, he's doing well in the space today. Yeah, he's crossed over and he's so excited. It'll be exciting to hear where that guy goes. Patrick Adams came on after, and yeah, it was a cool conversation with Patrick. Let me see what Patrick looks like. Patrick is is in my mind, but I'm not seeing his face. Ah, yeah. So Patrick is the guy who is writing children's books, and he moved from New Jersey to Las Vegas. Yeah. So yeah, Patrick was great. He wrote children books, but then he started creating the music for the books and just got caught in a whirlwind of 5 albums. And it's so yeah, yeah. Shemaiah Reed. Wow. Blown away by this guy and what he's doing. He has the I Am Refocused podcast and basically a conversation in a barber shop that was he's now on radio stations and it's been he's been extremely successful now with what he's doing. Mark Morrell, another person I met in Pennsylvania on the Rocky Steps. Yeah, who grew up looking at Rocky and got to run up the steps and interview Mark there. Let's Voltron is Mark's podcast is all about Voltron, but Mark is such of an amazing person, very humble, very cool. Then I had Penny, and Penny, brought a reality in a conversation to having a long day. Yeah. but yet she still pushed through to show up, and that's always fascinating. But I'm glad that we got to capture her. Not that she sounded tired, but you could hear that she had a long day. And then I ended with Tyson, who's in Australia, and he's just starting his day while I'm ending my day. And yeah, had a very cool conversation with him, all of 30 minutes, which was supposed to be my final conversation. Then I do this, then I wrap up, get some rest, start again. But it is what it is. Yeah, it is what it is. Life's short, right? Life's short. So, what did I do for time today? We're on 15 minutes and 36 seconds. It's good. It's good. Uh, what you're doing is good, Angel. Highlighting and sharing conversations with amazing people from all over the world. You're doing well. Keep it up. Remain balanced. Get rest. Drink lots of water. And remain grateful and thankful to the people that are supporting you, your wife, your children, your parents. Exciting times. Let's see where these conversations takes you. You've already seen the experience of podcasting and getting to travel through 48 states and Canada and meet amazing people. So, yeah, let's do this. Let's keep going. Again, this is my log, Monday 23rd September 2024. For all those that are listening, I do hope you understand that consistency helps you to reach your goals. Keep well. Good night.